Thank you again. I'm Grayson Robinson, the Arapahoe County Sheriff. I want to update you briefly on the investigation into the tragic shooting that happened today at shortly after just before 12:33 p.m. at Arapahoe High School. I am able now to confirm the identity of the individual that was responsible for the shooting. The shooter, and again, the shooter is deceased, and we firmly believe that he is deceased as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The shooter is identified now as Karl Halverson, Halverson, Pierson, Pierson, age 18. His name again is Karl Halverson Pierson, age 18. Pierson was a student at Arapahoe High School and was not under any suspension today. He attended school as a student of Arapahoe High School today. I also have some information about what we've identified through the day as the second victim. The individual is a young lady. Initially, we believed, and she believed, and paramedics believed that she was the victim of a minor gunshot wound. After being treated at a local medical facility, it was found that she was not wounded in any way, shape, or form. What appeared to be injuries on the young lady was blood from the initial victim. I don't have any additional updates on the initial victim, other than to remind you that she is a 15-year-old female. She underwent surgery and is currently considered to be in critical condition at a local medical facility. Our investigation continues, as we have discussed throughout the day, and our investigation will continue throughout the night, through tomorrow, and definitely through Sunday. I'm also able to tell you that at 9:15 p.m. tonight, all of the roadways in the immediate area will be opened for traffic for our community. And again, we will open these roads promptly at 9:15. For those of you that may have left your vehicle where we made it available, it may be a wise idea to move them when you're able. So that will happen. And then the last piece of information that I have for you is that we will make the student parking lot open and accessible to students who want to retrieve their vehicles tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, at 8 a.m. So any student that has a vehicle that is parked in the student parking lot located on the west side of Arapahoe High School will be able to come to that location and retrieve their vehicle at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We will certainly ask for some form of proper identification to ensure that those that are retrieving vehicles have a right to that vehicle. But that will happen at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. With that, that is our briefing for this period. Short of any breaking news or information that will be absolutely relevant to our ongoing investigation, we don't intend to conduct any further media briefings tonight. Our next briefing will be scheduled for 3:15 tomorrow afternoon, and that briefing will be held on the property of the Arapahoe High School. I don't know exactly where, but I can tell you it will be someplace generally associated with the very south central portion of the high school building or the southeast corner of the high school property. And again, we will conduct that at 3:15. When we meet at 3:15 tomorrow, I will give you information that is relevant to our overnight investigation. I will give you an update on our victim, and I will try to give you some information of where we are and where we will need to proceed over the next several days. We also should have a very good indication for you and for our community tomorrow at 3:15 what time and what date students will be allowed to go back into the high school and retrieve their personal property. because the entire high school is a crime scene at this point in time, we are not able to allow anyone that is not authorized to access the property. But as soon as we are possibly able, we will ensure that we accommodate those young men and young women with their need to retrieve their backpacks, personal property, things of that nature, and we will try to expedite it. But again, we are limited in terms of our legal requirements to hold that scene in terms of evidence, and only authorized people will be permitted to go in. With that, I believe I've covered everything that I intended to, and I would try to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Was the victim, was she a target, or was she just collateral damage to a shop?
With all due respect, I won't refer to her as collateral damage. I will refer to her as a victim. I don't know at this time if she was an intentional victim or an innocent victim, but I do know she was an innocent young lady. She was shot with the weapon that Pierson brought to the school. But there's no reason for us to believe that she was a target, but obviously that will be part of our investigation. Hold it one at a time.
Do you have anything new on a possible motive at all?
I'm not going to comment any further on motive other than what I mentioned at our last briefing. That still is the focus of the investigation. My guess is that we will be able to better determine that and look at the details better tomorrow when we meet at 3:15.
Has the shooter had any other discipline problems at the school before? Anything that you know about now?
Not that I'm aware of, but we will look into that. Yes, ma'am.
Is Pierson's body still inside the school?
His body is inside the school because it is part of the crime scene investigation that needs to be conducted. Yes, sir.
Is Pierson's parents home a crime scene, or are they allowed to stay there this evening?
At this point in time, as I mentioned to you earlier, I think we have 4 areas that I would identify as a crime scene. First and foremost is the entire Arapahoe High School and the area immediately adjacent to the school facility. His vehicle is parked in the west parking lot. That is a separate crime scene that needs to be processed. We are looking at the home that he lived in, and we are currently awaiting a arrest warrant to be issued by the judge. And once that happens, we will begin a search and evidence evaluation in that home. Typically, when we are looking at a scene like the home, and we're waiting for a search warrant, the occupants of those areas are removed so that evidence can't be tampered with, or that things don't change from when we want to go in and examine them. There's a 4th area that we are still evaluating, and that is Pierson's father's home in Denver. There is a warrant that we are applying for, and we will execute that warrant sometime this evening or early tomorrow. Those are the 4 areas that we will work, and there are, by our normal protocols, we will hold a crime scene until we're able to properly execute a search warrant, and that means individuals that are not authorized to be there are removed from the area.
Sheriff, you said earlier arrest warrant. Did you mean
I'm sorry.
search warrant?
It's been a bit of a day. I meant a search warrant. It's a search and seizure warrant. And if I said arrest warrant, and I know I probably did, I apologize. Our investigators have worked on affidavits for authorization under warrant to search the 4 areas that I discussed.
Would you spell Karl Pierson's first name?
K-A-R-L. K-A-R-L is Karl. Halverson is his middle name. H-A-L-V-E-R-S-O-N. Last name Pierson. P-I-E-R-S-O-N. I'm not going to relate his date of birth. He's 18 years of age.
There have been different reports about numbers of injured today, and that there were 2 at Swedish and 1 at Littleton Adventist. Was it just 1 at Swedish?
I can tell you now, Hendrick, that we had 1 initial gunshot wound victim, and that is the young lady that is currently in critical condition. She is the only gunshot victim that we had. Early on, and certainly I know that you all understand this, information is fluid and things change. The second victim that we believed to have been suffering a minor gunshot wound, now in fact, and gratefully, did not suffer a gunshot wound. She had blood on her from the from the first victim. The other injuries or medical issues that we saw were what I have always referred to as anxiety attacks. We had 3 of those. 2 of them were treated at the scene and released to their parents. The first one was transported to a local medical facility, provided immediate aid, and released very, very quickly. But those were anxiety attacks. We had no injuries, no issues related to the orderly and very deliberate evacuation of this school today.
Sheriff, you said that he attended school, Pierson, today. He was not suspended. Do you know anything about, did he go outside and get the gun? Was it in his car? Did he go home?
We don't have those details. That will be something that we will look at through interviews that we're conducting, through video at security cameras and video at the school, a variety of tools that we will use to try to determine how long he was in the school, if he left, if he came back. That's part of our investigation. Yes, sir? Behind you.
Did Mr. Pierson fire on his intended target?
I don't know whether he did or did not. Still part of our investigation. Yes, sir.
Any details about Pierson's family, cooperation, emotions, anything you can tell us about the family, what they're doing?
I don't have any relevant information at this point in time. I can tell you that our investigators were with Pierson's family fairly quickly after the shooting incident happened. What the level of their cooperation is not information that I have or know right now. Yes, sir.
The sheriff, earlier you said that at least 65 and up to 80 students were isolated and were near the shooting, and now it turns out just one person was shot. Can you explain why there were so many witnesses in this situation and yet one gunshot victim?
Well, I'm not sure I can explain it, but I can tell you I'm very grateful for it, and I think that there may be a variety of reasons that we could speculate. The 65 to 80 people that I talked about, I will remind you that they were people that were in the immediate area of the shooting. Some of them saw the interaction, some of them heard it, some of them heard of it. But they were folks that were in the immediate area, and the deputies that were there isolated those people immediately because they were most relevantly involved in the situation that happened today, and they were the individuals that would have the most factual and relevant information for us to have to evaluate what happened.
Sheriff?
But, excuse me, in terms of why only one person was shot, I believe we could speculate all day long about that. I can tell you that I am grateful, and I think that that is, if there's any positive, and there probably are going to be a lot of positives out of this situation, that's a positive. Not to take away at all from our sadness about the 15-year-old young lady who lies in a hospital right now. I won't take away from that. But I also believe that the quick and aggressive response from our school resource officer and from other deputies that were in the immediate area and reacted to an active shooter were part and parcel of why the suspect shot himself rather than go any further. So I will give a great deal of credit and gratitude to the work of those deputy sheriffs that isolated this kid, and clearly in my mind he realized that the active shooter response was very aggressive and very robust.
14 years almost since Columbine. Can you talk about lessons learned?
No, ma'am. I will eventually talk about lessons learned, but I don't think that tonight is the night we reflect to Columbine. I think tonight is the night we think about the victim that we have at the hospital, and that we think about all of the students in Arapahoe High School. I think all of you would agree there is a very large student population that are home tonight with their parents. They are safe. They have gone through a traumatic situation. If there's any lesson to be learned, the only lesson I will talk about is the fact that the active shooter protocols and the communication capability in this community is absolutely intact and absolutely a critical part of how we are able to continue to successfully and effectively serve our community. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, was there any indication that Mr. Pierson came armed to take out many victims, or
does it appear he was just looking for his teacher?
I don't know. That certainly is what our investigators and crime scene people are looking at now. We will look at that kind of detail as the days go by. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. Just for clarification, when you say Pierson's home, is that his mother's home, or did he live by himself?
No, he did not live by himself. He lived with a parent, and my understanding is it was with a mother, but I don't know that for sure. Right.
Sheriff, how close were deputies to him when he shot himself?
Well, they were, I don't know exactly how far away they were, but I can tell you that they responded very, very quickly to the area he was in. I will remind you that our school resource officer asked for help at 12:33 p.m. this afternoon, and within 5 minutes of that call for help, that school resource officer and other deputy sheriffs from my office were in the immediate area of the body of the deceased. They saw him, and they had isolated that particular portion of the scene.
Do you know if they were in visual contact with him, or he saw them when he shot himself?
I don't know. I
I
don't
know
know.
it's early, Sheriff, but we now know his name. Anything that you're learning about Pierson, home life, anything, any clues as to what led to this?
At this point in time, no clues or no information, but certainly something that a team of investigators is focusing only on. That is their key responsibility, to find out about him, find out what his background was. We will find out more certainly when we execute the search warrants at the different locations. Certainly, I'm confident that we will find information that will help us put the pieces of the puzzle together. But at this point in time, I have no real detailed information.
Sheriff,
Marshall?
the family of the victim, how they found out if they were coming, hearing the news of a shooting, were coming to the church or the school, or if deputies or personnel were able to notify them?
I don't know how that occurred. I know that family of the victim was at the hospital fairly quickly, but how they were notified and how they were transported to the hospital, I don't have those details.
The device that was detonated in relation to where the shooting took place, or where these 65 to 80 victims were, was that in the same area?
Yeah, the device that I'm confident that you're asking about is the first Molotov cocktail that was actually ignited and thrown, and that's why the deputies encountered a large amount of smoke in the immediate area. That was ignited either immediately prior to or during the shots being fired. The second device was not deployed at all. It was intact when our deputies began to work the area.
Do you have any detail of what comprises Molotov cocktails?
I don't. I can tell you what a typical Molotov cocktail looks like. It is typically constructed of a glass bottle normally. Normally has some type of a combustible substance, usually liquid, inside it, and it has some type, typically, of a makeshift fuse. I don't know that that's exactly what we saw inside Arapahoe High School, but when I'm told Molotov cocktails by the people I work with, those are the points of reference I go back to. Certainly, as I understand better what the configuration of these devices was, we will share that and make sure you understand what that was about.
So 2 of those were found in the school and 1 had been ignited?
That's correct.
Can you clarify, I know we've been over this, the 15-year-old girl, do we know any more? Did she try to confront him, or was she just in the wrong place?
I don't know. Initially, we were told that there was a confrontation. Now it appears that maybe there was not, but we really need to focus on that particular question, and we will have it answered.
The fact that there's no warrant yet signed, at least for the home where he's living, does that lead us to believe that there's not a concern that there are explosive devices currently inside that home?
Yeah, we have no immediate public safety need or public safety concern for the community that live in and around any of the areas that we are going to search. The search warrants require affidavit, and these are very complex and very detailed affidavits that need to be presented to the district attorney and then to the court. It is my understanding that the court is currently, as we speak, reviewing those affidavits. The judge that is responsible for this is a very detailed, very focused jurist, and I know that the information will be reviewed very, very closely. I anticipate that we will have those warrants in hand within the hour, would be my guess. Yes?
Thank you, Sheriff. What weapons classification or legal classification is a Molotov cocktail?
You've probably asked the wrong guy, but I will find out for you.
Okay.
It's I think, typically referred to as an incendiary device. And as far as where it stands in terms of state statute, it would be an incendiary device is how it's defined, but I don't know exactly how it was constructed. So the construction of it would define better. For right now, I think for our purposes, it suffices to say that it appears to have been a Molotov cocktails, and I would suggest that from a legal Colorado Revised statute perspective, incendiary device is probably the choice of phrase that I would use.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes.
Sheriff, is there any indication of the ownership of the weapon yet?
No, that will take us some time. We will certainly be working with our colleagues from ATF to identify the ownership of the weapon, how it was, when it was purchased, how it was purchased, what hands it may have passed through. But that will be part of our investigation, and we would certainly rely on our good colleagues at the ATF to help us accomplish that responsibility. You bet.
Have you said what kind of weapon it was?
It is a shotgun. Beyond that, I'm not releasing, or I don't have any additional information to provide. I'm glad to take one or two more. I know it's been a long day for all of you. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the familiarity of the resource officer with the students? Did that help him lessen what possibly could have been worse? His role, his response, his
Okay, I think I
familiarity
yep,
with the students.
Yep,
And that person's there. I mean, how long has that person
Yep.
been working at high school?
Our school resource officer that was assigned to Arapahoe High School has been part of our school resource officer team for several years. He's a well-respected member of our organization. He is a very good man. He is a member of my sheriff's office family that I have the utmost respect for. He's a courageous individual, and he is committed to the safety, security, and well-being of our school, but more importantly, our students. He is a very dedicated man, and he has earned my respect, but more importantly, he has earned the respect and gratitude of the students of Arapahoe High School before today. After today, there's no words that can tell what he has done. But prior to today, the student body of Arapahoe High School knew this deputy. They knew him as a friend. They knew him as someone who was there to help. They knew him as someone who was compassionate, caring, and someone who did their job without question.
The shooting took place at 12:30, which is lunchtime. Are we led to believe that the hallways were crowded?
I don't know for sure, but my guess would be that at that high school, nearly any time of the day, the hallways are congested. I think that's the best example I could give.
Was the previous confrontation between the student and the teacher, something that was alerted to authorities in the past, or how did you learn about this previous confrontation?
We've heard about it through discussions we've had today, and I need to go back and find out more details, whether it was documented or whether it was not documented. I don't know that information, but certainly something we will, that is part of our investigation and part of what we will put into our reports as we move forward.
Sheriff, are you confirming the identity of the teacher at this time?
No, I am not going to talk about the identity of the teacher. We know who the teacher is. We have interviewed the teacher. We have engaged, but at this point in time, it's not appropriate for me to have that discussion. Very frankly, the teacher, as I indicated, based on his tactical decision to go away from the school, was the right tactical decision. and I am confident that he is going through a variety of emotions. And so with respect to his privacy and his opportunity to reflect on what happened today, I will decline to identify him. Any other questions? I want to make one quick comment, if I might, to all of you. I very much appreciate your efforts today. I appreciate your courtesy that you showed me, and I appreciate the fact that you gave me the opportunity to go and get the information that you needed. And I think we tried to get it back to you as quickly as we were able, but also as accurately as we were. I very much appreciate the relationship that this office and I myself personally have with the media of Denver. You are, I've talked all day long about partners, and you are absolutely a critical part of our partnerships, and I am grateful for that. Thank you, each and every one. Remind you that our next briefing, short of any breaking news or something that would completely change this investigation, will be held 3:15 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday, and we will do it somewhere in the south central or southeast portion of the Arapahoe High School facility. Thank you all very much. Be safe tonight.